Okie dokie. I think we are good to go.
You good? Okay. All right. Welcome back to Moline Method Mic'd, our podcast. I'm Kelly Moline, functional medicine consultant, licensed pharmacist, wife, and new mom.
And I'm Landon Moline, Kelly's husband, and father of our little baby Danielle.
Yes. And we are doing a pajama party today because we are talking all about postpartum and surviving those fresh postpartum weeks. So it felt like our uniform of the time.
Yeah, and we're just having a little bit of a lazy afternoon day because that's just kind of they got away from us a little bit, and we had other stuff to do this morning. So
yeah. I was tired. I was tired. I'm like, can we do our podcast in our pajamas? Landon's like, it's our podcast.
Yeah, we can do whatever we want.
We make the rules.
Yes.
Yeah. So we just got back from Minnesota this week for another wedding we were in. So how was your week, Landon?
It was lots of fun. It was fun visiting with friends and family there, getting to see both grandpas at the same time for brunch. So that was a lot of fun. We took some pictures there. But yeah, we just got to hang out. And I mean, you were in the wedding, so it was I hung out more, I guess, with Danielle and your family
than I did.
Than you did. But it was a good time. It was fun hanging out with them, letting them see Danielle and interact with her. Your sister was just the best aunt ever. She was feeding her, putting her down for naps. So she was doing a great job. It was fun to see.
Yeah, she's going to make a great mom as well when the day comes.
But yeah, it was a no kids wedding. So they watched Danielle during the wedding and a little bit before as well.
Wait, I wanted to talk about, before we get there, can we talk about the plane ride?
Yes. What about the plane ride?
So Danielle has traveled on many planes now. I know we covered her first plane ride on the podcast, and now this is her third time flying. So like
third trip.
Yeah, third trip. So each plane ride is like our own adventure now, right? So This was plane ride number 5 and 6 there and back. And you accepted your own challenge by changing her on the plane.
I did. It was, I had to do it. Kelly said that, we probably couldn't do it as men on the plane because it's a tight space.
Yeah.
And so I said, challenge accepted. And I rose to the occasion and I conquered.
Yep. You were closer to the bathroom.
I was closer to the aisle.
I think it's you.
Yep. We heard Danielle do the deed and felt it and smelt it. So yeah, I got up.
Did she poop both times or just the second time?
Did she poop both times?
Yeah.
On the way there, you thought it was poop.
Okay.
And because she was tooting.
Yeah.
And I got in there and it was just pee.
Yeah.
And on the way home, we knew for sure it was poop.
Yeah. Okay.
And then I did it both times. So I got two experiences changing, and the planes were a little different.
Yep.
On the way back when she actually pooped, I'll just go over that one.
Yeah.
We were going through a lot of turbulence. We were flying over a storm of some sort or some kind of weather.
And I'm glad you took that one because I was nervous with the turbulence.
So yeah, we were in the back of the plane, and then we went to the bathroom at the back of the plane, which tends to be a little more turbulent. It bounces around more, and they put the seatbelt sign off, and so I was like, "Okay, it's now or never. Let's do it." And then as soon as I closed the bathroom door, they turned the seatbelt sign back on and said, "Please sit down with your fast seatbelt. We're about to go through some weather." And without even, I had 2 seconds, and all of a sudden I was just bouncing around, and it was crazy. And Danielle was looking at me like, "What are you doing?" And so that made more of a challenge. I got a little workout in because you're in the bathroom, and like you said, it's not a lot of space, especially with the changing table. And so I'm pretty much in like a squatting position, and I'm trying to do everything with one hand because the other hand, because we're bouncing around, I'm bracing myself against the wall and trying to hold her at the same time, like, in one place. So I really had to change her with only one hand and wipe up a mess with only one hand. So yeah, it was, I was sweating. It was not fun, but you know what? I did it. And now I know we can. Although I probably won't volunteer willingly, but I know we can do it.
Yeah. We've both done it now. And I feel like now every plane ride, I'm like, wait, was that it? And now we almost change our every plane ride, it seems.
Yeah. I mean, if we could go without doing it in a plane ride, that's ideal. But yeah, I think both times you thought she had pooped. So yeah, but
I'm proud of you for accepting your own challenge, though, and taking one for the team and changing her in the little plane.
I'm proud of myself. It was no small feat, and you said we couldn't do it,
and there were we did. A lot of babies on that second flight, but the first flight was at like 6 a.m. because the airline changed our flight on us, so we woke up at 2:30 a.m. to get there. But she took it. Babies adapt very well. She took it well. I think better than we did. Honestly, at least better than I did. And then the second one was during the day, which is when babies should travel, which is why there are so many more babies, it seemed like. Yeah,
in the middle of the day, so they're not catching that red-eye flight. I think you just see a lot more kids fly during that time.
Yeah, so we went to the wedding, and yes, it was a no kids wedding. It was one of my friends from college, one of my pharmacy friends. So that was a lot of fun, hanging out with the girls and seeing her again, enjoying being by her side, with her day, whatever I'm trying to say.
By her side on her day?
By her side on her day. Yeah, it's been a day. So that was really fun. And she did say that we could bring Danielle. We ended up just bringing her for the groom's dinner so that our baby could meet everyone. And then we left her with my family during the wedding. And the bride was so sweet. She's like, you can bring her. You brought her all this way. I know it's a no kids wedding, but your kid is allowed. I'm like, well, if you're making it a no kids wedding, I feel like you don't really want kids there and babies there. And it was honestly for the best so that I could focus on the bride and having fun rather than momming all day. And we had milk. So I've talked about how I'm breastfeeding and all that. I pumped on the bachelorette trip. When was that? June? I don't know. So. Pumped on the bachelorette trip and left it with my sister in Minnesota, and she froze it so that when they were babysitting now in August, she could use that milk. So that was honestly very helpful. Otherwise, she would have been with me a lot of the day.
Yeah. And then your parents and your sister got to spend time with her too. So that's always fun since they live in a different state and just seize the opportunity to spend more time.
So when we had our wedding, we didn't declare a no kids wedding because honestly, we didn't know a lot of kids. The only kids that really came was my cousin's kids, who was like the flower girl and ring bearer. And then they ended up going home right after anyway. And so we didn't have like the challenge of declaring kids or no kids. And we've been at weddings with both, right? Like we've been at weddings that didn't have a lot of kids and weddings that definitely had more kids, and they can be louder and like more of a focus point, which can be fun at some points and kind of like a lot in other points. And so I've always been, I feel like, a little bit more pro no kids wedding. But now we have a baby, so I wanted to get your take on what do you think about no kids weddings? Are you pro or against?
I don't think I have too much of an opinion on that. I know it sounds boring, but I think back when we didn't have kids, I didn't think much of it, obviously, because if they said no kids wedding, it didn't apply to me, so I didn't really care. And so I think that was just like personal preference, fine. And I think sometimes, if there are loud kids that are just not behaving well, they can be a little bit disruptive of a ceremony. But also, like, that's just, kids can be a little louder, and so I think you kind of just deal with that. But I don't think I'm not like against no kids weddings. I think it's just personal preference. I think if you want to, if you don't want a bunch of kids running around, if you have relatives I think it all depends on the person. If you've got a ton of kids in your family and you don't want them just running rampant on that day, or you just want the parents to be able to enjoy themselves, it kind of like forces them to. But then also if they don't get a babysitter, or if they, it just makes it harder if you don't have kids, and I mean you can miss out on that. But I don't really think that I have a strong opinion for or against. I think it's all personal preference, and I think to me it's the bride's day, and if they don't want kids at their wedding, then I respect that.
True. And so I feel like you kind of have to look at it like bride and groom's perspective or a guest's perspective. So it works with like having kids there with bride and groom if you're like very relaxed. I think about the day could go however. And I want your opinion, Landon.
Well, I know. I'm saying like I feel like I don't have as much of one. I mean I was trying to think there.
But yeah, and then as a guest, it's like, I guess when it's more kids, like the dance looks different, and like you're doing more of like chicken dance, YMCA, those kind of things. That is true. Yeah. So it just depends. Like you're getting a different vibe for the wedding.
Well, you do, and that's where I think that it's personal. If the bride and groom want a certain vibe at their wedding and they want it to be more adult focused or geared, then yeah, that's their choice. They're paying for this wedding and they should get the party that they want, so that's just, to me, I just respect their choices, and people, I just don't think people should take it personally if they don't want kids. I've heard people getting like mad, like, oh, it's a no kids wedding, and I've got kids and I just feel like I'm being singled out. And it's like, no, you know what, it's not about you, it's about the bride and groom. So
true,
you know what, it is what it is. Don't take it personally,
and focusing on their love. And then weddings have tight schedules throughout the day so that you can make sure that it follows that. You don't have to worry about the dinner or dance or anything like going amok with having kids, because they can make their own schedules and they can be a little bit less, what's the word? I don't know. Anyway.
So that raises the question. If there were a ton of kids in our family at the time that we got married, where would you land? Would you have said no kids at our wedding, or would you have cared?
So we were married, I think, earlier than a lot of our friends. So we didn't have a lot of weddings that we went to prior. Did. Yeah, no, I know. So at the time, we did invite more kids, like more of my family's kids. They just didn't come. So I didn't think of it then. Like it felt like it didn't apply to me then, because I didn't go to a lot of weddings. Throughout the years, our friends have gotten married a lot. It seems like we've been a part of a lot of weddings. So I've been on the more no kids wedding side. And I've been pro like no kids wedding, but now having a kid, it's like different, and being like, oh wow, now that we have a baby, we're like, let's just bring her wherever. And we kind of have that mentality going to a lot of stuff. So it's weird in a sense being like, oh, wait, she isn't invited. That is strange to me. But I totally get it, too. Like you said, it's their day and they're paying for it. And weddings, it's their one day and it's a lot of money. And kids kind of come with their own feet. But yeah, like our baby wouldn't really care whether or not she was there, right? She's just like hanging out. But it was fun seeing like the older kids that did hang around there, and like I think they had a blast at the wedding, like hanging out with the groomsmen and the bridesmaids. They thought it was a lot of fun. They were like young teenagers though.
Yeah,
that did stay.
Yeah, I enjoy bringing Danielle to weddings or to events, but I'm also, I guess I'm pretty like easygoing. I don't really think too much of it. I'm like, it's fun showing her off because she's so adorable in the little dresses and stuff. But at the same time, it's like if someone said, "Oh, no kids at this wedding," I'm like, "Oh, okay." As long as it's not like if it's a destination wedding and then you go no kids, that pretty much means you can't even travel with your kid. You have to leave your kid home,
or you'd have to bring a babysitter,
and that makes it extremely difficult. And then it does feel a little more isolating, where it's like, well, now our trip just got either a little more expensive or,
because we did get invited to a destination wedding and it was no kids. So, so I'm sorry, we're not able to go.
Yeah, probably not going to be able to make that one. So, that's kind of what I was talking about. It's a little more like, okay, well, we have less options now. Or we have to like think more about it. It's a little more difficult. It's probably going to cost a little more money, and it's fun traveling with your kid, and you don't want to be away from them for that long. So, yeah.
And maybe I think about it at this age a little bit more too, because I am breastfeeding her. So if we didn't have the pump milk before, like there would be no other option. I'd have to bring her because I have to feed her and stuff too. But
true.
Yeah. So no, it was good. So because she was with my family, and I, the bridesmaids day for weddings is an all day event. You start at 8 a.m. sharp. You come with your coffees. You get your hair done. You get your makeup done. You get in your dresses. You listen to music. You cry with the bride. You're just like hanging out. And then the guys, wake up at 10. You went golfing on your wedding day, and then I think you even got a workout in.
Well, it was nice because they had a golf course at the resort we got married at.
Yeah.
So that was kind of convenient. But
yeah. So it's very different, and then
much more chill on the guy's side.
Yeah.
Because it only takes us like 20 minutes to get ready.
Yeah, you just need to show up right before and then get dressed, and you're good to go for pictures, basically. So very different. So I had a whole day there, and then the pictures and the wedding and all of that. So just because our baby is with y'all and my family getting babysat, that doesn't mean my job stops, since I'm a breastfeeding and pumping mama. So I was pumping on the go the whole day, which was a little bit different too, because my dress didn't like really accommodate well for pumps. So it was doing more of like a manual hold. It wasn't as convenient, but it still worked. It's just like another tale how the motherhood journey doesn't get a day off really, but I like having that purpose. And so it was an event for sure. One of the times before pictures, and so when it's just like us and the girls, it doesn't matter. When it gets like more people, I'm like, ooh, this is a little bit awkward. But so I was trying to pump like every 3 hours in the day, and when we were doing pictures, the ring bearer, he's like 2, 3, I don't know, I'm really bad at that, but he started crying, like having a fit, right? And have you heard that like crying can cause like a letdown, cause you to leak, right?
Yeah.
So we're standing for pictures, and I'm like, this baby is crying, and I hope I don't start leaking through my dress, because I also like don't have anything to help really prevent it that well, like I normally do, I'm not wearing like a normal bra.
Because you're taking pictures, so
I'm in a bridesmaid dress, right? Like I have like the little sticky boob things on, but that's it.
Yeah,
and
you're not wearing like the pads.
Yeah. So, and it was like 2 hours past my last pump at that point. So it's not like I was ready to pump, but I was like, and then we're like just finished pictures, and I feel the letdown. And then I actually was leaking through my dress, and it was like going down past my sticky boobs, and you could like see it through. And that was interesting. That was a lot. So it really does happen. Crying can cause letdowns, which I think is a crazy experience. Well, especially when it's not your baby.
But I thought like, I obviously didn't see you a lot during the day, but when it came to the wedding and stuff like that, I felt like you were finding good times to excuse yourself and go pump, and it wasn't extremely disruptive. You were finding the right times in which you could kind of exit and not be just completely distant from the wedding and supporting your friend and all that.
And that's such a delicate balance, honestly. So this is called pumping math, where you really like think about the time. That's why it's like such a mental load to continue pumping. And so me and my friend, we're like looking at the schedule, and I'm trying to map out like when the best time each break is, like during the cocktail party, right after the dinner, and then when I can like be done pumping and stuff like that. So I was like trying to plan it out, but sometimes it's easier said than done because you're having a good time and all of that. But I also want to thank you, because once you guys came to the wedding and I would have to like go pump, it can be really isolating to have to go pump, right? Because I don't necessarily want to go pump with like everyone there, and it's like an outside wedding and there's no AC. It was very hot and humid in Minnesota in the summer. So I asked like, who wants to come join me for 20 or so minutes and have a little pumping party? But I think the heat really helped. You guys were like, yeah, we want to come.
Yeah, I will say it wasn't all just out of the kindness of our hearts. I mean, yeah, it was stepping away from the wedding a little bit and the reception, but I mean, it was so hot and we were sweating out there, and there was no AC in the reception area, and so twist my arm, I'll grab a drink and go sit in some AC,
which is
for
funny
30 minutes.
Because I thought I was kind of asking you or my friend Alexis. Yeah. And so I was like, does anyone want to join me? Because I really don't want to go sit there for half an hour and miss everything that's going on. And then Alexis's husband was like, yeah, I'm down. Yeah. And so it was like us two and then them two. And then I think there was like another couple. Another couple came, and the other couple that came, they're pregnant now, so she's like, actually I have questions about pumping, and so it worked out great.
Yeah, the other couple was like talking about, I was like, okay, we can't, the entire wedding party cannot be dismissed from the reception. Like, so I didn't want to make too big of a crowd of it, because everyone's like, oh yeah, I'll go too, and it's like, hold on. Yes, the AC was a nice draw, and it was good to come in there and cool down a little bit. But yeah, it was kind of funny that everyone was like volunteering. Yeah,
but I also really appreciated it, because pumping can be awkward and isolating at times. So just to make it like, okay, I'm not going to make this awkward, and we're going to have fun with it, and we're going to go have a little pumping party during whatever event we're at, because I don't want to miss the event either. I thought that was really nice and really fun.
Good. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I want you to be comfortable with it. I mean, it's something you have to do, and so yeah, it doesn't have to be a negative, isolating event. I mean, but yeah, I was happy to do it. So,
but it's also nice, I don't know, from like me being a woman and you being the man, and you not being like, oh no one else should come with you, especially like other husbands that were coming with, because it is kind of an awkward thing. And you guys just kind of like turned your chairs around a little bit, and it was fine.
Yeah, I mean, I think the other husbands that we were with too seemed like pretty respectful people. Yeah. And so I wasn't like,
we knew them. That helps.
I think it was like some randos that I didn't know who they were and stuff like that. It might be a little weird like being in there with them as you're doing that, but yeah, it wasn't awkward. It was, I know them, so I wasn't really worried about that.
But I also like the idea of normalizing it a little bit more, because I think in the past, you know, a lot of women were super isolated if they had to pump. And I think the more we normalize it, the more it feels doable to continue, because it doesn't have to be such an isolating event either, whether that's breastfeeding or pumping or whatever. Just like being like, oh yeah, this is part of biology, this is part of what we have to do, she's feeding her child, not making like a big deal out of it. I appreciate.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, I mean, that kind of makes it sound like you were just like, oh, taking off your dress and just like letting it all hang out and pump. You were still being very discreet with the way you were pumping. It wasn't like everything was exposed and stuff like that. It was still like, I think that it can be done, it can be normalized, but I do think there is a little discretion you need to use to, you know, keep it classy and kind of, you know, like not have everything just hanging out there. But yeah. So
I've gotten less concerned about that. Not that I want to just like expose everyone, but to a point I'm like, I don't want to be more stressed about it. So yeah, we're just here trying to feed her. That's all I need to do.
I mean, yeah, it is a normal thing. So that's where I don't like to make it seem like it's a huge deal and make a huge deal of it, and really focus in on it. I mean, it's something that you have to do if you're pumping, if you're breastfeeding. So,
and I also have the wearable. So I have the LV, which I really enjoy. And when I was picking out my pumps, there's a lot of pumps out there that like, it's literally like pulling your nipple, like milking you, right? And there's a lot of pumps that show that, which can be helpful, I think, with placement and all that. But when I was picking mine out, I picked one that didn't really show that. So it is helpful when I'm pumping, like no one really sees that. You know what I mean? Versus when we were in the hospital, like I feel like everything was exposed at that time.
Yeah.
So your pump matters too, I guess, with your comfortability.
Yeah. Okay, what are we talking about today? What is our topic of discussion?
So our topic is this is going to be our postpartum tips episode. So we already did an episode of 5 things we wish we would have known for pregnancy. And when I posted that on my Instagram and asked for other people's input, I got a lot more postpartum, like newly postpartum tips. And I was like, wait. I was more looking for the pregnancy period specifically. But since I got so many good ones for postpartum, I thought, what a great opportunity to share our postpartum tips, especially in the early days when you're in that survival mode. And then we can share everyone's tips on that too.
Okay. So just like last time when we did the 5 pregnancy tips, tricks, or what we wish we would have known, you're going to do 3 and I'm going to do 2.
5 total. And then we'll share, I didn't write them down, so I'll have to look at my phone. We'll share the ones that y'all said.
Yeah, I wrote down a couple of them that people sent in as well.
Oh, you did?
At the end.
Okay. So I'm going to share mine. So my first one was actually advice from my doula again, but she said shower every day postpartum, and we were in the NICU to start with, and I think that was such helpful advice because like I could feel I felt my mental battery draining, and you'd get those sad moments and you felt like you couldn't control anything. And there are days where you could be in your pajamas all day, aka our uniform for this episode. We're in our pajamas. And that's totally fine if you are in your pajamas. But she said, make sure you get a shower every single day. It's going to affect everything. And so you don't need to wash your hair every day if you don't want to. Just make sure you at least shower. You have at least 5 minutes that you're not holding a baby or being touched or anything. You have some alone time. Hand her off or get someone to hold her or whatever, and take a couple minutes to shower every day. And I like really was adamant about making sure I showered, whether that was right away. And when I say right away, I think the earliest I was able to do it in the early days was like 10 a.m. Most days it looked like 2 p.m. and that's perfectly okay. Although I felt like, what has this come to? Why can't I even shower until 2 p.m.? And then some days it was nighttime. But I made sure I got my shower every day, and I felt like uplifted every time afterwards. Just felt better, right? You're clean, you're refreshed, you're uplifted, and so you can keep tackling what you have ahead of you, but just shower once a day.
Yeah, that sounds like a good way to reset, especially when you've got like a baby on you all the time. And were there any days where you didn't get a shower in that you could tell a big difference, or you actually?
I really that was my one goal, was to shower every day. And I mean, now I don't want to be stinky or whatever, but I mean, I'm less
tell us
adamant.
About your hygiene.
I'm less adamant about it now, but I just do it because I have more time, I feel like now. I haven't washed my hair in a couple days, but that's another postpartum venture that we have.
Goodness, girl, you gross.
I know. No. But
you got your hair cut. You got the mom do now.
I did.
You did the mom chop, as they say.
The mom chop. I had the confidence to go in and cut my hair off this time. Last time
it's shorter. It's not crazy short.
No.
It's not like some people say the whole mom chop where it's really short in the back or whatever. But
yeah, there's no pixie or bob or anything like that. I'm not that confident. But it's definitely easier with her grabbing my hair all the time or just getting it out of her face or whatever. But yes, I did get the mom chop. But yeah, so I did make sure to shower every single day. And then I've also heard biologically postpartum women are like stinkier. And they say so that your like baby can smell you and identify you. They like know who their mom is by your smell. And so I was always like self-conscious about that. And then also waking up, you, especially once your baby starts sleeping through the night, you're like leaking. So I'm like waking up drenched in breast milk. So I'm like, ooh, I feel like I'm stinky from that too. So that also helped me shower once she started sleeping. But yeah, the early days is what we're mostly talking about. Shower every day. Best advice.
Got it. Okay. I didn't know you were doing that, so that's interesting to me.
Oh, really?
No, I didn't notice, but I also didn't start smelling you, so there we go. Lucky me. It must have worked.
Well, I think it worked too because you were fine with like getting, taking your turn, helping her as well. So
yeah,
I wasn't like crying, asking you to hold her for 5 minutes so I could go shower. It just was part of our day.
Mm-hmm. Okay, my first one, number 2, is take time off from work. And this kind of coincides with be present as well. So your advice is more for the dads. More for the dads. I'm coming from the dad's side. So for me, I think, my companies have offered paternity leave in the past. Not all do. Sometimes it's a longer amount of time that they give. Sometimes it's shorter. And I remember even saying when we were pregnant, I get, 6 weeks of paternity leave, but I probably only like need like 2 or 3, and I told my CEO that I was like, but I was thinking about it for me. Right. So I was like, okay, well, I will probably only need a couple weeks because I'm fine getting back to work. We'll probably get in the swing of things. And then maybe I'll just be more flexible and work from home a few more days. But I didn't realize how much of a toll it takes on the mom and just how much work it is. It's a new schedule. There's so much going on that you're just trying to adjust, and babies are a lot of work, and the paternity leave is not necessarily just for the dude, just for the guy. Like, it's the mom is going through a lot, and so it's being able to be present and be helpful for them. And so that is very important. And after going through it now, I'm like, yeah, I mean, if you have the ability to take time off, because some people do not, depending on if you have PTO or whatever else. But if you can, I would say do it, because I saw the impact of like me helping you with things and like take initiative and doing what I could, whether it's like washing your pumps or like whatever it may be. Like there's not a ton. I can't, obviously you're breastfeeding, so you have to do that task, but when you're pumping, stuff like that, those would have to be washed when your like milk was coming in. So I would try to do that. Just finding things that you can do to help the mom as she's going through this transitioning period when she's trying to heal, especially if you're doing like the 5-5-5.
Oh yeah.
So I think that like just taking that time off, it would have been really hard to be as helpful if I hadn't taken that time off. And I'm glad I did now, but I remember thinking to myself like, oh, I probably won't need that much time. So I think it's just super important. It's more important than I thought it was. And so like it's something I could have planned ahead for more and be like, okay, I'm going to take this time off, because yeah, I think it would have looked a lot different. It might've been a lot more difficult on you. It would have been really tired. I mean, you were already tired, but it would have been like a lot harder, I feel like.
So you took your paternity leave after.
Yeah. I tried to work from home for more of it, like right away. I was doing more work from home hours, and then I finally was able to actually take it. But yeah, no, I think that was super important.
Yeah. And so I'm trying to like put my brain back to where we were right at the beginning. Cause right now we're 7 months postpartum to the day. She's 7 months old today. And so like the first few weeks looks so much different than it does now 7 months postpartum. And like it is so hard. You're running on such little sleep. Like I've talked about before how there were several days where I would get 3 hours of sleep a night. And then I wasn't really napping in the day because we were going to the NICU and that kind of stuff. And so you're so drained. And then when we did come home, you are still so tired, and it wouldn't really be that bad if you didn't, like, if you could get sleep. That was like the part where you feel like you're always constantly dragging and constantly behind, and you're in that survival mode because you're getting such broken up sleep, where when you put it on paper, you're like, oh, it can't be that bad. And then you're in it and you're like, holy wow, this is a lot.
Yeah. Well, it makes showering every day seem like actually like a decent feat. You know, like getting out of bed and showering, because it's.
Yeah. And like every second you have is so valuable, and trying to plan it out, because even going to the bathroom when you're healing and you have to like clean up and you're bleeding and you're trying to, you know, be so careful, and you're not moving very fast, and you're pumping and you're breastfeeding, all of that can take an hour or so at a time, and then you have maybe an hour or two in between that before it all starts over again. And that doesn't count showering, that doesn't count eating yourself, that doesn't count brushing your teeth, right?
Well, yeah, there's a lot of windows there where in between when the baby's feeding and when you're pumping or whatever else you're doing with the baby, just caretaking in general, where it feels like you have maybe 20 minutes to actually get something done, which is barely enough time to start something, much less accomplish something. So that's kind of where, yeah. And I think that, like, I just remember you being super appreciative of any tasks I could pick up. And as a guy, there aren't as many things we can do, but like changing the baby and
you took
washing pumps is like one thing we can do.
When we're in the Airbnb for sure, and in the NICU in the hospital, you took it on yourself to wash the pumps every single time. And that was so helpful. Even in the middle of the night, I would get up and pump and all that, and then I would like nudge you like, hey, I'm done pumping, can you go wash them? And you'd get out of bed and you'd go pump, or go, you wouldn't go pump, you would go wash them and let them dry, or put them, like dry them and put them together so it'd all be ready. And then there were definitely times in the middle of the night where my alarm would go off to pump, and I'm just like trying to press snooze or trying to like get myself together, and then you would get up for me and go get my pumps or go get the little hot packs or ice packs or whatever I need to get it started. Because in the beginning it was like, okay, first I need to warm up the hot packs and place that on myself, place that on my chest for 10 minutes, and then I could pump, and then I'd have to do the ice packs, and then we'd have to clean it up, then I'd have to go to the bathroom, and that takes a while. And then my lactation consultant had me pumping for 30 minutes at a time, and like it all just took so much time. And so you just taking the initiative to wash the pumps just was like a break off of me, and that was 5 minutes that I didn't have to do that, which was so helpful. And then when we did come home and had her with us, and you would get up and change her and then give her to me, and that was again just like a few more minutes that I could rest, which was everything at the moment. And then
then you didn't have to get out of bed.
Yeah. And like putting your feet on the ground feels like the biggest challenge in the world at that point. And we take turns, I think, too, with diapering sometimes, but that was so helpful. And then you also took the initiative to learn how to soothe her. So I wasn't the constant one always having to be like, oh, she's crying, here's mom. So that was really helpful. So again, in the middle of the night, if I can't get her down to go back to sleep and it was taking too long, I would hand her to you and you get her to sleep.
Yeah. So I guess a bonus one on there would be like taking the initiative to figure out how you can help.
Yeah.
How you can be most useful.
I didn't want to add to yours, but I liked what you said.
Okay. We need to go to the next one.
Okay.
We kind of went down a rabbit hole there.
Sorry. Oh, is that mine?
Yeah,
okay.
That is you.
So my next one is meal prep. I feel like this is something that we did pretty well, and we did a little bit earlier, which was nice because we had our baby earlier. So we did our meal prep and then froze them. So they're all like crock pot meals that we could just throw in the crock pot in the morning with a little water, depending on the recipe. And then it was like ready so that you could still have nourishing meals, warm, nourishing meals, because you are healing during that point. You have little energy. The last thing we need is high sugar, high carbs. We still need that protein. If you can have like bone broth, protein, just like warming vegetables, all of that stuff can be really important for your healing and for your energy. So, but you, again, like I talked about, you have zero energy, zero time to do that stuff when you're in survival mode, it feels like. And your partner may or may not be able to also have that time to cook for you. So being able to prep the most you can ahead of time was really helpful. We didn't get to make a lot of that stuff like right out of the gates because we were an hour away from home. So people sent us like DoorDash gift cards or Venmo'd us like for food. And I think that was everything at the time, because then I didn't feel as bad for spending an extra few dollars to buy something healthier for us, because I knew like warming foods especially was really important. I was avoiding like salads and cold things and going more for like broths and veggies and anything like warm and healthy and protein to help recover.
Yeah, I can definitely attest to how nice it was, or convenient, to be able to just go and warm food up from the freezer and heat it up versus having to cook. And I mean, because you underestimate how much sleep you're actually able to get even as the man. You're in constant go mode, trying to figure it all out, and like you don't get a lot of sleep either, depending on like what you're doing and how much you're waking up in the night. So I didn't want to, like at that time I was so drained, I didn't want to take the time to cook. So it was really nice to be able to heat that up if you can.
And you were working too at the time, so you were answering emails, you're in meetings, and then you were also helping with the baby, you're helping washing. So just to take that like off of our plate was really nice. And then our church group also helped like bring over meals for us. So that was so nice and so helpful. And they did it more around the time that we were actually due. So it was like a month in. And so that was a time that I think we kind of fell off of a lot of people's radar and was like, okay, they're probably good, which we were better than the start, but it was so nice that they still wanted to do that at that point, because, you know, it was stuff we didn't have to do at the time.
Yeah. And so, I mean, with that being said, if you are wondering how you can help your friends after they've just had a baby, bring them food. Yeah. I don't think you can really go wrong bringing them food. I don't think anyone's going to say no to the food. Mm-hmm. And it's also nice, like, you might not get time. They might not want visitation with baby yet. So just like go drop it off and leave. Like, I mean, everyone's different that way, but yeah, bring your friends food that just had a kid. That's a good piece of advice.
Yeah. I think my love language is food. So that was so helpful. So that was mine. What is yours?
Number 4, or my second one. So this, I feel like I have to phrase this correctly, or precede this one with like, okay, this is not like a personal experience, but one of the things that we learned in the baby class, or one of the things that was said, I think it was in baby class, was don't shake the baby.
Sure.
And
important stuff.
I remember like, yeah, obviously, like, duh, you know, but it's not really about like, yeah, I guess people can shake the baby if they get really, really frustrated, but it's about like, don't get frustrated with the baby, or if you feel like you are getting so frustrated that like you could drop the baby accidentally, or you just need to remove yourself. Because if you're getting frustrated, I'll go back up. So my experience with this, the reason I picked this one, I didn't think a lot about it when I heard like don't shake the baby. It kind of didn't seem like it applied to me. But when you are getting 2 hours of sleep a night and you're just exhausted and there's a lot going on and it's the middle of the night and your baby is crying and they won't eat, they won't go back to sleep, all your soothing methods that you know about, that you've used, that have worked in the past, are not working, and this baby just will not stop screaming in your ear, there comes a time where you could get very frustrated. I remember there was a time where I was like, I didn't have an urge to shake the baby, but I was like I was getting so frustrated, and I was like, I need to tap out. I need to like give this baby to you because I'm like, it was just so frustrating. And I could tell as I was getting frustrated, the baby was crying harder. I was like, what in the world do you want? Like, I feel that it kind of builds off each other almost like a scream match. It gets louder and louder. I wasn't screaming at the baby either, but
internally you were.
Internally I was. But yeah, like, so I like the advice because don't shake your baby. There are issues like that you could really cause with that. But if you feel yourself, and this can be for mom or dad, you feel yourself getting so frustrated that like you feel like you might do something stupid, or you like, you know, even when you're frustrated, I feel like you're a little more aggressive with like putting her down, or like, you know, setting her down, or just anything, I guess. I don't have a bunch of examples, but
as she gets older, then you're going to be more frustrated with her too.
Well, like hand the baby off, tag the other parent in, even if like they're sleeping or whatever, but you just, whatever you're doing is not working, and you're just so frustrated that like it's just not working for you. Don't just sit in that and make dumb decisions. Remove yourself from the situation, calm down, and then tag back in when you can if she's still not cooperating, not going down. But like, be patient with the baby. The baby's trying to figure out the situation too. It's new to them. The only way they know how to communicate is through crying. And so again, everything's new both to you and the baby. Both parents are figuring it out. The baby's figuring it out. So I think that piece of advice, I kind of disregarded it when I heard it in the class, but I think it is very important because I remember there were times where I was just like, I was so out of it, but the baby would not stop crying and I didn't know what to do. And I just think that mistakes can be made when you're that frustrated and that tired and like you don't know what's going on. Like, you're hardly awake and you got this baby screaming at you. So I think that just be patient with yourself, be patient with the baby. They're not purposely trying to be difficult and ruin your life or cause you to lose sleep. I think, you know, they're just trying to figure this out too. So I think that's good advice.
They're in like the uterus and they could feed whenever they wanted, they could sleep whenever they wanted, they were warm, they had their mom right there at all times, like they had everything. And now they're in this brand new world where everything is brand new, like you said, and it can be very scary, and their only way to communicate is through crying or whatever. And especially as new parents, we're learning how to be parents. They're learning how to be a baby. We're learning each other. And that can be frustrating, especially when you have zero sleep. But I think it's also important, like as a spouse, to be in tune with your partner if you can. And so that I can like hopefully sense or just be aware of this so that I can see and assess the situation so I can tap in before you get to that point as well, as much as I'm able to. And if you are by yourself, that can be really hard to feel like you can tap out. But if it's for your own mental health, like if you're at work or whatever and I'm home alone, I've heard people say that it's okay to still tap out. Make sure baby's like fed, diapered, whatever, that they're safe. Put them in their bassinet or crib or whatever. So again, they're safe, and you can take 10 minutes and it's okay, because even if they're crying, they're safe, but it's better for both of you if you're able to take a little time apart and then come back into it in a healthier mind frame.
Yeah, no, and it makes sense. I mean, because there were only a couple times where I got like that frustrated, but one of the times like you even saw, you're like, how's it going? And I was like, I don't know. And you're like, you seem like you're getting frustrated. Let me like tag in. And I don't really, like, a lot of times I don't think the baby's necessarily danger in your hands at that time, but like sometimes you don't even realize, like you might be gripping the baby a little tighter because your blood pressure's up and you're just like anxious or whatever. Or you might accidentally, like when you're frustrated, your bodily movements are tighter, they're like a little more emphasized, and like that's I think where the don't shake the baby comes from. I think you just kind of naturally you act a little different and you don't make as smart decisions because you're not calm, cool, and collected. And then also the baby's not going to settle down when it sees you or feels you ramping up.
Yeah.
So it's not going to help the situation any more than like handing the baby off would be. So
I think that's a good lead into my next one. So our number 5, I have take turns or share the load and then rest when able. So, and what I mean by this specifically is when we came home from the hospital and we are like dead tired, right? Especially like, I'm breastfeeding, and I was breastfeeding and then pumping after each feed, so that she could grow better, because in the hospital she was losing more weight, and that's very common for babies to lose weight at the beginning, especially like to go below their birth weight, and then it takes a little time to go up. And then I also want to talk about this a little bit, because I didn't know this going into our birth class, and we learned a lot at our birth class, that like a truer first weight would be like 24 hours after they're born, because they're getting a lot of fluids, whether that's like during the labor yourself, if you're getting fluids, or like a lot is coming from the mom through the umbilical cord, and so they're like losing a lot of fluids those first 24 hours. And then people are like, oh no, they're underweight, they're not catching up, now we need to supplement with formula or whatever. So that's normal, but she was like, our baby was losing weight more than the doctors wanted. But they never told us that we had to supplement with formula, which I was really glad that they didn't have us go there. But they did have me when I was trying to breastfeed, and then we had to do a bottle right afterwards to help get her weight up faster. And so it was a lot to breastfeed and then bump and then wash and then, start everything over again. So when we came home from the hospital, there were times where you're like, how about I just do a bottle for her for a feed at night, and then you can get a little bit more consecutive sleep. So rather than sleeping 1.5 hours at a time, you're going to get 3 hours at a time. Something like that, right? Mm-hmm. And so that was a godsend to get consecutive hours of sleep, like 3 to 4 hours. I felt like a brand new person. And in a milk perspective, if you're breastfeeding, this isn't like the best advice that a lactation consultant would probably give you, because your milk is trying to stabilize and figure out how much you need. And if you're like skipping a feed every day, especially if it's like multiple times a day, that's going to lower your milk supply, because it's all about supply and demand, and your body learning you. But for me, like doing that at least every few days and getting consecutive hours of sleep, it was so helpful, and like my mental clarity so much needed it. So I understand why people do end up combo feeding or doing formula, because it was like for my mental health at that point and my survivalness. So yeah, that was really helpful that you took that initiative and said, hey, I'm going to feed her for this time, so you just go to bed, and when she wakes up, I'm going to do a bottle, and then you can get the next one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So thank you for that.
I could definitely, yeah, for sure. I could definitely see that it had, after the first time doing it, you seemed like a brand new person, and I feel like I could definitely tell your mood was a lot better, and you were a lot more, awake and refreshed. So I knew after the first time doing it, we'd probably be doing it again. And I think, and I also think it might seem to some like a weakness, but it's not. Your ability to like ask for help when you needed it was really important, I think, in this situation. Some people are afraid to ask for help, and I think they need to communicate when they feel like they need help, or if there's something that the male can do. A lot of times, like, us as men, we're not going to know exactly what we can do to help. And so hopefully your husband's receptive to wanting to help, or your significant other's wanting to help, but being able to say, hey, I would really appreciate help with this or that, or like, anything that we can do. Because I think a lot of times guys aren't going to know what they can do to help.
So if we're speaking to new moms, what's a way that they could say to their husband, I need help, what would be a way that they could phrase it that they are more receptive? Like coming from the man's perspective, how would you be more receptive to that?
I don't know. I definitely would approach it with saying like, I've done this, this, and this today. So like you owe me this basically, and saying like, oh, so can you do this one thing? I would definitely come from a place of more appreciation. Like I really appreciate, how much you've been doing. One thing that's been really tough for me, like, is to clean these pumps. And so I would really, if you could clean them, that would mean the world to me. It'd be so helpful, and go from there. I think just coming from I think it's how you ask versus like what you're asking for. And so approaching it like that might be helpful, but it also, I mean, y'all know your husbands or your significant others. So like, I mean, how they like to be asked to do things or how they don't like to be asked. So I would go from there.
Yeah. But I think it's helpful hearing from the man's perspective, because I get into the habit of, these are all the things I've done. And so I'm kind of like listing them as, can you help with some of them? Like, these are the things going on in my head. This is my mental load. What can you take away? But I know it doesn't always come off the best, or bring it up in more of like a heated space where that's important too. Like timing is everything.
Yeah. And I think you're more listing the things that you've done because you're like, this is why I'm so tired.
Yeah.
But when you list the things you've done before asking me to do something, it more sounds like you're keeping score and you're like, these are things I've done, so here's how I'd like you to help me. And so it's like a little bit dismissive of like the other things, because you might not know all the other things that your baby daddy's doing. So
your baby daddy,
husband, baby daddy. Yeah, no. So that's kind of like, there are things that they might not be telling you, hey, I did this and this and this and this, but they might have done a lot. And so I think hearing, all the things you've done before asking the question of like, can you help me with this, might be a little dismissive of like, and a little unappreciative of what they've already done. So, but yeah, otherwise just ask it flat out. But anyway, yeah, I think just don't be afraid to ask for help if you need it, and sharing the load between you and your partner, I think is important. But yeah, some other ones that I wrote down that are good to mention. I have reach out to a lactation consultant sooner.
Oh no, these came from Instagram.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we should say that. Not like your honorable mentions of your tips.
No, ones that came in from like Instagram, from people sending them in.
I'll list those off.
Okay, go for it.
So people what their tips was reached out to a lactation consultant even sooner, which that really helped us because we were in the hospital for so long. That really helped us. I had multiple appointments. So, and then the actual challenges breastfeeding brings, then the reward once you get it down. So yes, I agree.
Say that one again. I didn't understand that.
So number 2, the actual challenges breastfeeding brings, but the reward once it's down. Gotcha. So like breastfeeding doesn't always come naturally. We're like, oh, it's this natural thing. It's this biological thing. You're just going to get it the first second during the golden hour.
It's hard
work. You're good. But it's not always like that, especially first time moms. I definitely didn't experience that. It took a while for us to get it down, and the baby, it's new to them too. How specific babies like, okay, something's in the way.
That one's how each baby's preferences can be so specific. I reworded it.
Okay, got it. So like swings, pacifiers, etc. I think that also, I agree to that, especially how much we're like researching, and then you're like, I researched all of this stuff and the baby doesn't even like it. What?
Well, yeah, like what works for some may not work for others.
Like the bassinet. I was so excited to have a bassinet. She didn't like it.
No, we barely used it.
We used it. My mom got that for us, and we did use it. Thank you, Mom.
We didn't use it as much as we thought we were going to.
We didn't use it as much as we thought we would. And then our doula told us how we can safely co-sleep. So that was really helpful once we did that. So I guess that would be an honorable mention for myself, would be research safe 7 in co-sleeping. And if that's your survival mode, do that. How intense these are also Instagram ones. So how intense the hormone drop can be and how out of your control it is. Very real thing. Again, your hormones just went off a cliff. And so what we can do to support it, vitamins, minerals, all of that. food, and then the moments after birth with your body, with what your body does and what the nurses need to do for you. Yeah, this was kind of surprising to me. The nurses come in and like push on your uterus to make sure it's going down, which is like uncomfortable, but it needs to be done. And I'm glad that they were there to do it for you. Postpartum nurses, at least mine, were so nice. And there was a lot going on in that hospital room afterwards, or at home if you do that. Okay, we should wrap it up and wrap it up with a dad joke.
Okay, here's the dad joke. Dad joke of the day. Why couldn't the bicycle stand up alone?
It needs a kickstand.
Because it was too tired. Too tired.
Too tired.
That's
got it. I got that one right away. Thank you.
Well, you didn't guess it, so you didn't get it.
I didn't get it, but I understood it once you said it.
That is good. You don't understand all of them, so.
I know. Yeah. I'm like, say it to me in other words.
There you go. It's easier, I think, when you're reading them because you understand like the 2 is the number 2 and not like TOO.
Yeah. Some are funnier on the page.
Well, they're all funny. Okay. They're all funny.
They're all funny.
Yeah. Don't downplay my dad jokes.
Which I think is funny because when we were at the wedding and people were like, oh, I listened to your podcast. It's so fun to see like the face to the voice they were saying to you, because I knew the people a little bit more than you did. Mm-hmm. And you were like spitting out dad jokes and they're like, wait, is this actually a Landon thing? I'm like, oh yeah, actually he loves dad jokes.
Yeah.
He thinks he's funny.
I can't help myself.
He's been preparing for this fatherhood journey for years with the dad jokes.
Yeah. No, it's not
and
something.
how it suits you well.
Yeah. No, we made it a segment, but it's something I do actually do quite a bit.
Yeah. You were excited for that segment. It was all your idea.
Yeah. I was surprised how many people started like, oh, I love your dad jokes. I'm like, really? Because I've never gotten that reaction when I've told them on a daily basis. So yeah.
You nice get to own that for sure. Yeah.
My contribution.
Yep. Thanks for coming to our pajama party while we talked about postpartum. And don't feel bad if you are in postpartum or know someone who's in postpartum. If you're in your pajamas all day, every day, it's the postpartum uniform.
Yeah.
Get comfortable pajamas, especially. So I got these from Target, and that's also why I wanted to do the pajama episode today, because I'm in love with them. One, they're poppy pink. We nickname our baby Poppy, so I love it. And so it's this light pink, so they're the best color. But I like the button down in the front because especially when you're newly postpartum, it's so much easier to breastfeed.
There you go.
I was like trying to figure out when we were just starting like how to breastfeed in normal clothes, and I couldn't do it. So
I'm pajamas. In a onesie because I felt like being in a onesie, and
because you don't have a lot of actual pajamas.
No, I don't. You're like, let's do pajamas, and I was like, well, I do like being comfy, but I actually don't have a lot of pajamas. So anyway, thanks for listening. Yes, thanks for listening. Like, subscribe, share with your friends, give us a 5-star review on wherever you listen to your podcast. And
you can find us on Instagram, TikTok at Moline Method. You can submit questions there or tell us what you like about the podcast, what you may not like as much, but love to hear what people think about it. Or you can ask questions and we can answer them on the pod.
Yes, exactly. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.